Awesome. We'll go ahead and get started. It's great to be with you all here today. I'm Nate Stair. I'm the market segment leader here for our SiteMap team. We've been hosting some of these webinars to help educate and help learn from our clients, and have special guests like we have on today with Vicente. I'll introduce him here in a little bit, but yeah, we want to walk through a little case study with you and really talk about streamlining facility infrastructure. And managing that in SiteMap there. So we have some great examples and things to show you all today. So really excited to get started here. So yeah, like I said, we're going to be talking with Vicente. He's a project manager for planning and design and construction there in Southern California. And we're just excited to hear a little bit about his project and kind of his journey through this as-built development process. And yeah, so a couple things here before we kind of get rolling. So creating a permanent utility record. This is something that is really critical. We find that it's not always a process that's taking place from facility to facility across the country there, but it is something that is really important, and we definitely want to touch on that here today. We want to walk through a comprehensive, overview of SiteMap and some of the features and how you can use it, and see how it could, potentially benefit you on your projects, and show you a little bit how Vicente's using it out there on his campus. Right there at the end, we'll go through a quick Q&A, and if you have questions at that time, we can get those submitted and go from there. So just some housekeeping things here. So we have the chat that you'll notice. If you prompt the chat and keep that open, we're going to allow you to submit questions there throughout the conversation here. So that'll be up running live. If you have any questions, you can submit them there. We'll call on you. We can even bring you onto the stage. You'll see a prompt come up on your screen that'll allow you to come on stage. And you can be live, and we can talk back and forth at that point. So, we have that going on. So if if you want to, conversate, throughout the process with either one of us, go ahead and submit the chat over there. I'll try to, peek in on it periodically, but you can see there, if you select the chat on your right side, you'll see a little window open up, and feel free to submit your questions there. So getting started here, we wanted to kick off with a couple questions and kind of see where you all are in your journey. So first question is, what is your number one concern regarding your above and below ground facility infrastructure management on a daily basis? What does that look like in your world? Feel free to just throw your comments there in the chat. Would love to kind of see what we have out there today. Give you a little bit of time here to get those in the chat. Kent, I see you don't have any sound. I don't know if Charlotte, if you could help us out and see, maybe it's a setting or something on Kent's end, but maybe we'll troubleshoot in the background on that. The second question here, this is actually going to be a little poll. So up in the middle section, you'll see chat, and right next to it, you'll see a little prompt pop up here. But what type of facility or project do you manage? We'd love to know kind of where the audience is at and all that. I see we have commercial real estate and all that, but some of your options are healthcare, manufacturing, higher education, K through 12, transportation, or other. So I see so far it looks like there's one other, two other. So yeah, we'll let those populate, and then we'll go through that here. Yeah, so as far as streamlining your facility infrastructure management, one thing that GPRS is doing, we have an initiative with 811. We're doing some test cases here in Ohio, and one thing we're doing is there's 811 is responsible for the public side of things. GPRS and third-party services, handle the private locates on private property. So what we're doing is we're testing this right now with 811, but we're using SiteMap to give access, to any client or any contractor out there looking to see what potentially could be on the private side. So, typically a box will be drawn on the public, in the mapping there. And, if there's private utilities located in that area, you actually get a prompt there in SiteMap. So we're doing some really exciting things with that. So, and that's pretty much where we want to start the conversation. It is law. You have to call 811 to get your public utilities all marked out. But we know that is just a small piece of the puzzle. It is required by law, but there's many utilities, as you can see here, out there. And that's really what Vicente has really faced is, hey, there's existing plans and there's historical data, but there was a lot of utilities that weren't updated over time. And, that is something that it's a really important part of the process that we're really trying to drive as far as safety initiatives. So, we encourage you to, we're going to put together this little plan, this little process to follow. And we really encourage you all to, take a look at it, take a bite of it, chew on it, see what you think. We love feedback on it as well. But, as part of this initiative, one thing we're trying to create this, basically this 8-step process. But calling 811 obviously is your first step. Number 2 would be hiring a third-party locate to collect, existing conditions on the site. Third step would be aggregating and digitizing existing information. So oftentimes the information can be, on someone's laptop. It could be in someone's head. It can be all over the place. So, getting that all put together is a really, important part of the puzzle here. So, the 4th step is verifying that registered and unregistered utility line data. So, oftentimes you'll find, utilities that about, but there's obviously those, that infrastructure information that you don't have. So it's important to know, potentially what could be out there, versus old as-builts and whatnot. So the next step in the process would be to geolocate, annotate, and layer these findings. So, if we can locate, from a GIS perspective, this information can be used in many different platforms, many different file types, so that you can use this, from not only the project that you might be working on, but for future as well. Next would be centralizing and securing your data storage. So it's great to put spray paint on the ground. It's great to put flags, for documentation there, but it's a whole nother thing to have permanent record and ease of access to this information. So being able to centralize that into a platform is really critical. Next phase, second to last phase down here at the bottom, detailed processes to update and version utility data. So once all this information's been collected, we might have GPS located, or you've had survey done of your site. It's really important to get that in a version or get that in a file type that your team can use. So, we have CAD users out there. We have GIS users. Some are just simple PDF viewers, and that's okay too. But it's good to get all that information, in the right hands. So that's the next step there in the process. Lastly, and this is a step that's often skipped or looked over, but making sure that you have an updated ground disturbance plan. This is something that, as projects come online, it's great to be able to have a process in place, specifications for how you want this information collected, how you want it documented, really to give you a consistent, safer, a better, more informed facility there. So a great ground disturbance plan would be your final step in this process here. So, this is a process that you can follow, on a consistent basis. And I think you're going to be much better off at your facility there. So Before we get it over to Vicente and we start talking about the project at hand, I did want to just kind of bring up that we're working at many different types of facilities. We did the little poll here. It seems like most we have some real estate, other types. So we work at a lot of heavy and manufacturing facilities, anywhere from theme parks to healthcare. Airports, really any type of site with underground infrastructure, those are key critical facilities that we work at. One of the top facilities, work at hundreds, if not thousands, of campuses across the country, but colleges and universities. And so we have Vicente here with us today. Vicente, I know when we first started talking about the project there early on, you had lots of unknowns, lots of things going on, but if you don't mind just introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself before we kind of get rolling.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Nate. Good morning, everyone. My name is Vicente. I'm a project manager working in a higher education institution here in Southern California. And my department specifically, we handle all of the construction projects that go on campus, and we're kind of one of the arms of the facilities management department. So not just doing new construction, but it's renovations, and then it's also helping out the other parts of facilities, whether that's building maintenance or grounds. We all kind of work in tandem to keep the university up and running, as well as bringing new buildings or renovating existing buildings online.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, it's great to have you. I know we've been on a little bit of a journey trying to get your campus up to date and all that. So just to kick us off, tell us about this permanent record that you were trying to create. Kind of tell us about how it got started and kind of where you started with the process there.
Yeah. So I've been working here for almost 2 years in December, but when I first started, if there was any new projects going on, what we would tend to do is, if we see that there's going to be any infrastructure work going on outside the footprint of the building, we would typically consult either historical as-built, which are either in CAD form or PDFs, or if the building was old enough, it would have to be actual physical paper plans for when that project was first completed. And then with that information, get handed over to the contractor, and that would be our best knowledge of where we think things are buried underground as they tie into the buildings. So that's kind of how we would start a lot of projects. And when I came on, I noticed that some of these as-builts that we were using, at least the one that would show basically a single line of the different major underground utilities that we have on campus, were a bit dated. They were from 2013. So several new buildings had got online after that, as well as there's always slight shifts in you'll do one project and you'll potentially have to move a line that isn't necessarily tying into the project you're working on, but is just kind of make ready work to get your project going. So seeing that, it would always kind of be a struggle where I'm looking in our big, Google Drive folder of old drawings, trying to find the most updated version, because, a building could have been built in the 80s, but since then there have been several renovations to it. So that augments what's actually underground, feeding the building sometimes. So it was always tough kind of in those first stages, working with the contractor or the designer, handing them over just a bunch, as much information as I could, and then working with them to kind of sort through which piece is kind of the source of truth. So after that, we went and we're looking to kind of aggregate all this data in one place. Reached out to several different firms that are able to do this kind of work, and ended up going with SiteMap to produce this map that you see here.
Yeah, that's it was quite a daunting task. We knew we had information that was in many different places and many different formats and all that. Now, in talking with you before, you'd mentioned that your team had attempted to do something. I think it was like back in 2013, basically to collect all the historical records and things like that. So tell us just about your level of confidence with that survey or with that initiative, and tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so as much as I know about when it was done back then, it was primarily just aggregating all of the as-builts, the latest ones for each building or section on campus, and then putting it all together into one CAD and then also PDF file. So there wasn't any actual, like, we'll call it site investigation, whether it was physical potholing or just surface locating. So it was kind of just up to how good the drawings were from when the project was done, and then how good that firm was at overlaying all of these things onto one file, and then reconciling and seeing which lines were the most current, which ones were maybe abandoned or removed. So it was a good starting point for sure. And if it was just overall, we'll call it understanding of one utility, it worked. But when it was coming down to actually getting into construction, there wasn't any, we'll call it geospatial data associated with it. It was just a PDF that didn't have any scale on it, so you couldn't convert it in a PDF reader to say, oh, 1 inch is, we'll call it 12 feet or whatever it is. This was just a pure kind of map that just gave you the overall view of, we'll say, the electrical grid that we have on campus. So
Sure. So, you'd mentioned about having, different files and different types of as-builts. What kind of challenges came with that as far as sharing the information and getting all that information like cross-reference? Like what was that like?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of, you'll be doing work on the front end, working with the designer, going through that, we'll call it that pack that I send over. So it'll be usually it's a mix of CAD, old like permitted drawings that we got for the project, and then trying to reconcile the two and see which one is the most up to date. So with things like that, it's always tough, just because even with a map like this, you're always, like Nate mentioned, you're going to have to call dig alert right before you start digging, as it's required by law. But just having it kind of in this format makes it a lot simpler to just turn over to the contractor. And if they're looking for a specific type of utility, whether it's the water or the electricity, whatever you have out there, I think it's definitely made it a bit easier to turn over to them. And again, like I mentioned in the beginning, it's always you do this, but you always have to verify out there once you start digging, being careful. But at least with SiteMap, it'll give you an approximate depth, so you can give that data to the contractor as well and say, hey, we think it's between 1 and 2 feet. So just be careful when you're starting to encroach in that zone. So that way, trying to minimize the likelihood of striking a utility.
Yeah, I think about early conversations that we had, and this is you had sent me your original as-built, and you said, hey, I think some things on here are accurate, some of it's useful, but you were just telling me how it really was incomplete, and you definitely knew there was other utilities just based on information that was in someone's head, or just past projects, or maybe it was a drawing set from like you said 20-30 years ago. But this is where we started, kind of getting into the project a little bit. But you knew there was a whole bunch more out there, so you can really see that this information that we collected, it was pretty extensive. But we were able to verify quite a bit. I mean, there was some accuracy to your original drawing there, but really the information that we were able to collect and get into SiteMap was, I think really a beneficial part of all this. So one thing I really like is how you can isolate specific utilities. So this information that you have, it has all the information on it. And we could probably get this into some sort of CAD format and isolate specific layers. But in SiteMap, itself, we were able to go in here and isolate specific utilities. Maybe you want to only look at the sanitary or maybe even your storm lines. We can pull up those and access those that way. So, I think it was just a really cool thing to kind of see all this come together, in a useful way. One thing, Vicente, I mean, you'd mentioned the gas line, installing a gas line. Tell us a little bit about that little project that popped up and how you managed all that.
Yeah, so we were preparing for an upcoming project that will hopefully take place within the next year and a half. But as part of that, we were looking at upsizing a gas line, so that way we were ready to connect that building in the future, and then just kind of future-proofing the campus in general. Getting a larger gas service is helpful. Even with California primarily probably shifting to electric or electrifying most things, but at least for now, it looks like it'll still be gas. But being able to map that once it was put in. So what the utility company did, they basically just put it right on top of the old one. They pulled the old one out and then put a new one in right on top of it. But being able to gather that data pretty quickly and then just have it overlaid right on our map. Yeah, so it's a bit more to the south, kind of that one, exactly that one that's running along the road. With the curve, correct. So that line was replaced. So previously it wasn't really mapped on our PDF maps, and if it was, it wasn't as we'll call it geographically accurate as it is now. Being able to have it pretty much exactly where it is using GPS is pretty helpful. So that way in the future, I know we'll have a project coming in pretty soon. We can turn this over to the contractor so they know with a bit more certainty where that gas line is, so we're not worried about striking it. And then if you want to turn on the electrical one and then kind of hide the rest of them, I could go into another example. So if you zoom into the building right under the word SiteMap, correct. Yep. So kind of that small building right here, that building is going to get remodeled. That's one of the projects I'm doing. So as part of that project, we're going to install an elevator. And when we were going through the design, the elevator is going to go in that bottom left corner of the building. So when I saw that, and then I saw the SiteMap data kind of populate, it was a question before: is how does this exactly tie in electrically? Because the electrical room for that building is in that corner as well. So once we were able to kind of get it mapped and see that it 45s into the building right there, kind of turned that data over to the structural engineer, the architect, and then the electrical engineer, and they kind of confirmed that, as well as with the historical drawings that I gave them, and we were able to come to the conclusion that the elevator pit that we're going to have to excavate will miss that conduit package. So that was something that we were able to sort out kind of on the front end, because the building's currently occupied with faculty members, so I can't just go in there and start jackhammering through the concrete to look for the conduit. So that was something that was pretty helpful and kind of cleared up a question on the front end without having to do any destructive demo.
Sure. I think in our conversation we had mentioned, you talked about the gas line, and all just the massive amount of irrigation and even other utilities. But I think you'd mentioned something like possibly $50,000 of possible damages, having to hit something like that, having to shut it down, find it, plug it, repressurize it, and all that. So, there's massive costs involved when you're dealing with, poor information. I think, and that's what we were able to provide, is nice, accurate, information that you could design off of and plan with. A lot of things are found during the excavation process. So, you have a plan and you start digging and you run into an oh no. But having the information up front really was critical, I think, in your situation. So, Yeah, that's just great information. Great conversation. It's you can see just the massive amount of utilities, that we located. Is quite a process, and it's still ongoing. We've actually used other services like video pipe inspection. I don't know, Vicente, do you want to go into a little bit about where you've used, VPI and with some of your storm and sewer lines?
Yeah, so I think we used it specifically on two locations while the team was out there mapping. We noticed that one of our pretty large storm drains was clogged, and with our own camera equipment that we have, it wasn't long enough to feed through the storm drain and get a good view of it. So GPRS came out and dropped. It looks like a little car, but inside of the pipe, and then just sent it down the direction that we were kind of suspecting where the clog was. And once they put that little car down there and found the clog, we were able to identify exactly where it was, and then we have our own equipment that's able to clear those clogs. So yeah, if you kind of zoom, it's more towards that bottom road of the campus. Yeah, kind of right at the center of your screen. Yeah, keep zooming in there, and then it's just that one to the right to the south. It's kind of on the edge of the hill here, a little further south, right there. So that storm line that kind of terminates and goes down. It goes off the edge of the hill and then eventually ties into the street, into the city storm main. But right there is kind of where we noticed that it was getting clogged. So with that pipe inspection, we were able to kind of pinpoint exactly where it was, because it gives you data, not just the video, but it tells you kind of how far in the pipe it's traveled. So with that, we were able to bring our equipment that we have, and the plumbers were able to clear that drain right there. So being able to kind of exactly know where the clog is, I think takes a lot of that intermediate work out from the plumbers, of them just kind of shoving the jetter into the pipe and just waiting until they feel it stop moving. So that definitely saves them time and removes some of those question marks.
Sure. Yeah, just another great example of some of the issues that you can face. I mean, you've seen a little bit of everything, and you just never know what you're getting into. But yeah, there's technology out there to locate and give you existing information. So yeah, that's great. I think you had mentioned to us, there was a potential of saving, about 130,000 just in the first, within these first 90 days of just finding, just different types of information and things you could have avoided, things that you were able to plan around, things like that. So that's really exciting. I mean, do you foresee that like continuing to happen, as you go along with these projects?
I think so. I think a lot of it's savings in the sense of like not value engineering, but just being able to identify some items on the front end. So kind of going back to that elevator pit example, if we would have had to move the conduit for the elevator pit, probably would have been a decent amount of money to get it moved out of the way. And if it's something a bit more major, like on our campus, for example, we have kind of our own grid. So we tie into the main utility here in the city. But after that point, it's our own grid. We own all of those lines. So it's a bit more, a personal risk of us striking it. And it's high voltage. It's 12,000 volt service. So it definitely would cause a huge catastrophe if we were to hit one of those things. But once we get off onto these branch lines, it's something where just identifying it on the front end instead, and we've kind of already mentioned it, instead of having to find it in the field. And it's not just a labor cost or a material cost of rerouting that electrical service. It would have also been scheduled. So these things take time, and being able to do that and kind of identify it there takes more schedule uncertainty out of it as well, which is a main driver here on campus, because we'll try to plan projects so that way they either start when school is out or end before school goes back in. So that way we're kind of impacting the campus and the students as little as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's ongoing challenges for sure. Yeah, it's been a pretty awesome project to be a part of. I know we've even talked about bringing in 3D modeling services and all that. We're excited to see what SiteMap can do as far as making it easy for you to view, easy for you to share, and collaborate with your team through the platform. So SiteMap's an ongoing development. Just we were looking at some video pipe inspection. We're very close on getting each line segment its own video, so you'd be able to go right into that sewer line, right into that storm line, click on the video, be able to access the information versus getting into our software, our reporting software for the inspection. So finding ways to make it easier for you to access the information is obviously pretty critical there. So just touching back on the steps here. We've gone through calling 811, getting the third party locate, getting all the information that put together, verifying all that information, making sure all that utility line data is centralized, and also making sure that it's in a format that your team can use to keep you as efficient, and designing better throughout the phases of a project. And then lastly, this ground disturbance policy, we just find this so critical to, maintaining, consistent, data collection, best practices and things like that. So, that's it's just been great working with you so far, Vicente. I think we have a lot of work to do. I know you have 2026 projects coming up, and we're excited to work hand in hand at these projects here. So so at this time we're going to do a Q&A. Let me get back over to the chat. We will just kick it off. Does anyone have any questions for myself or for Vicente here? Go ahead and we can either get you on stage, or you can just submit it right here in the chat. Either way, we'd love to answer any questions y'all might have. How long does it take to scan a whole facility or building? That's a great question, and also a loaded question. Our rate of pace is anywhere. I mean, it can be an acre a day. It can be we can cover large areas if it's parking lot, maybe up to 3 acres a day. This project itself. Do you know how many work days we had out there so far, Vicente?
The work days, I believe so, started. I believe it was the last week of May, so around May 27th.
Okay.
And then they wrapped up the on-site work. We'll call it, I believe it was second week of August, around there. So about 2.5 months. And the area that we actually mapped on campus was about 145 acres or something like that.
Okay.
So, you could do the math backwards with the days on that. I think they moved faster than I expected. On some days when they had more resources available, they would send more of the field guys out here. But at minimum, we had 2 to 3 guys every day. And then depending on the week, it would get up to sometimes 6, especially how you mentioned with the pipe inspection. Those guys would just be looking at sewer lines, or not sewer lines, excuse me, the storm lines. So they would be doing just that run around the campus. But I think they moved pretty quickly, and I was pretty happy with how they set up on site. Setting up cones when they were opening up manholes, all that kind of stuff. Pretty proactive. So, and I enjoyed working with the team that was out here.
Yeah, there's a lot to go through. I mean, there's a million manholes, a million, handholds to get inside and clean all that stuff. But you just saw the sheer volume of utilities that we located. I mean, it was, pretty impressive, the rate of pace there. So, that's good. Hope we answered your question there. See another one. Were any of the buildings located with 3D laser scanning? and then did you overlay the underground scans onto the above grounds? I don't know, Vicente, did we do any? I know we had talked about getting some 3D scans, and maybe you had some previous scans done, but did you use 3D at all?
I know they did briefly one of the buildings on campus, and this was just kind of the front face, and then going through the inside, up a stairwell, and then back towards where the laser scanner was set up. I know they're still working on creating that model and kind of like a fly through of it, but that's what they did on that. On that map that we were just looking at, there isn't any of those 3D scans overlaid on top of it, just because we didn't do it. But I'm sure Nate could speak to it a bit more, maybe at another location.
Yeah, we we've certainly completed those projects in the past where we've taken basically we invert all the depths on the utilities we locate, and we basically model those into the above ground 3D scan there. So it's been a pretty effective way to run your clash detection, really get that full picture of what's underground and how it relates to the above ground. So that's a great way to view and access information through a 3D model. So it's very time consuming. A large campus like this would be quite an undertaking to do a full underground model, but it's something that we can build over time. And I think that's you don't have to bite this off in one bite. You can do this over time and kind of build that model throughout the time there. So I hope we answered your question there, Andre. What about the cost savings? How has doing all this saved the money? I know, Vicente, you've talked a little bit about this so far, but just can you give us some rough numbers on maybe stuff that you've avoided or where you've seen cost savings?
Yeah, I think if we hadn't been able to map out that one electrical conduit, like I had mentioned, and then we get down to it, project starting, we start excavating, and then we were going down, and say it would have been in the way, I think that would have cost quite a bit, not just in money but in schedule, like I had mentioned. And I think the other section we did, it's a parking lot that was right on the other side of that small building. Being able to locate those items there took out more uncertainty from that design, and saving just in direct potholing costs. I know we did potholing in the area for some other utilities that didn't show up on SiteMap because the tracer wires were broken on the gas line, so it wasn't able to get mapped. But those kinds of items definitely saved on not having to have a vendor or a contractor come out here and pothole everything. And then just aside from just purely monetary portion of it, just the disturbance to campus, it's always tough. There's always exams going on, or people studying in the libraries that are close by. So trying to minimize that impact to campus is a pretty important thing that we try to prioritize in our department, just to try to get work done as unseen as possible, or at least unnoticed. That definitely helps us out a lot on that side of things.
Yeah, where my mind goes is just the amount of time, in the past that's been really wasted just digging for some of the information, trying to put it all together, and it's in many different formats, and it's not consolidated. Just the sheer amount of time it takes to go through all that and try to get it into one view. I think that's really what we were solving mainly, with SiteMap. So, excited to see, how it helps you moving forward. And like we said, this will be an ongoing effort, and just so excited just really to be a part of it. So, we're just about at post here. I did want to just kind of throw this out there to the audience, but if you're looking for a live demo, I know, Vicente, you've taken advantage of this in the past, but we can do a one-on-one demo. We can look at your site. We can take a look at the, maybe the historical data that GPRS has, and take you just to walk through all the features and maybe how it can help. Maybe we can learn a little bit about what you're doing at your facility. But we'd love to set that up with you. We appreciate all the questions. We appreciate the discussion. I think I learned, each time I talk to you, Vicente, just a little bit about the problem and things we're trying to solve there. So it's just awesome to be a part of here. So my contact information is on the screen. Feel free to reach out. And again, we just appreciate everybody jumping on. And Vicente, have a good one. Go Padres, go Guardians, and maybe we can make a little playoff run here. So.
Yep. Yeah. Likewise. Thanks again, Nate.
All right. Take care.